The restaurant was silent for a split second, so silent that even the clinking glasses seemed to pause. Everyone had heard him. Everyone had turned to look. And everyone knew the billionaire never expected the waitress to understand a single word he had just said in Spanish. But then she looked up, met his eyes without fear, and replied, in perfect, flawless Spanish. That was the moment his world cracked open. Maria had not planned for this day to be significant. She woke up at dawn, like she always did, to help her little brother Javier get ready for school. Their modest apartment smelled of yesterday's leftovers, the only thing she could warm for breakfast. At 19 years old, she carried more weight on her shoulders than most adults twice her age. Their father had passed when she was 12, and their mother had fallen ill 2 years later. It was Maria who kept the home standing, Maria who worked double shifts, Maria who tucked Javier into bed at night, whispering, "Un día tendremos una vida mejor. One day we will have a better life." She never complained. She couldn't afford to. That morning she hurried to La Esquina Dorada, a high-end restaurant known for wealthy tourists, exclusive guests, and overpriced meals. She loved the atmosphere not because of the money it brought, her wages barely reached minimum, but because she liked watching people. Some came gentle and humble, others came wrapped in arrogance like an expensive coat. She would soon meet the worst kind. Across town, Julian Montenegro, a billionaire hotel magnate, was preparing for a meeting he didn't want to attend. Julian had been raised in privilege, wealth, and a belief that the world existed to serve him. His father, a cold businessman, had drilled into him a single lesson: strength is power, power is respect, and respect must be demanded, not earned. Empathy, humility, and kindness were luxuries Julian had never practiced. But that day, something in him felt unsettled, like the universe was preparing to hold up a mirror he could no longer avoid. Julian's driver dropped him at the front of La Esquina Dorada, a place he had chosen simply because it matched his mood: polished, expensive, untouchable. As he walked in, heads turned. Some recognized him instantly, others merely recognized the aura of someone used to owning every room he entered. He took a table by the window. Maria noticed him right away, not because he was handsome, though he was, but because he carried a coldness that seemed to pull warmth out of the air. Still, she approached with her usual gentle smile. "Good morning, sir. How may I?" He waved a dismissive hand, without looking up from his phone. "Agua," he muttered. She nodded politely, but as she turned, she heard him say in Spanish to his phone, loud enough for her and everyone to hear: "La cámara parece una tonta. Seguro ni entiende lo que digo." "The waitress looks like an idiot. I'm sure she doesn't understand a word I'm saying." A soft gasp rippled through the nearby tables. Maria stopped mid-step. Her heart clenched, but she did not flinch. She returned to him, placed the water on the table, and said calmly, in perfect, sharp Spanish, "Entiendo cada palabra. Why no soy una tonta. Solo soy alguien trabajando duro para vivir con dignidad. Algo que quizá usted on no ha aprendido." "I understand every word, and I'm not an idiot. I'm simply someone working hard to live with dignity, something you may not have learned yet." The entire restaurant froze. Julian finally looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time in a long time he felt small. The shock on his face should have satisfied her, but Maria felt no victory, no triumph, just the old familiar ache of being underestimated. She walked away, focusing on her breathing. But Julian, he couldn't look away from her now. Something had cracked through his icy exterior. "Who is she?" he muttered to himself. Someone too brave to ignore, he thought. Yet instead of apologizing, pride made him dig deeper into his coldness. He left a small tip, insultingly small, and walked out. But even as he did, her words followed him. "Working hard. Living with dignity. Something you may not have learned yet." He hated how it made him feel. He hated that she was right. That night he couldn't sleep. Images of the waitress, her steady eyes, her firm voice, her dignity, kept replaying in his mind. He didn't know why it bothered him. He'd insulted dozens of employees across his life. It had never mattered before. But something about her, something had shifted. The next day he returned. Maria didn't want to see him again. She didn't want drama or confrontation. She just wanted to work, earn money, and go home. But when she saw him walk in, her heart dropped. She tried to avoid his table, but her manager whispered, "Maria, he specifically asked for you." She swallowed her frustration and approached him. He stood up when she arrived, something he never did for anyone. "I owe you an apology," he said quietly. "I spoke out of arrogance. You didn't deserve that." Maria stared at him, stunned. But before she could respond, a tray slipped from her colleague's hands nearby. Dishes shattered, water spilled, and the manager yelled at the young busboy, Javier. Maria's stomach twisted. Her brother was working part-time at the restaurant after school, and seeing him panicking under the manager's anger made her rush over. "It's my fault," she lied quickly. "I gave him the wrong table number. Please don't deduct from his pay." Julian watched this interaction carefully. The protective way she shielded her brother, the fear that flickered in her eyes, the exhaustion she wore like a shadow. Suddenly he understood something. She wasn't just a waitress. She was a fighter holding her world together with her bare hands. He stepped forward. "It was an accident," he said to the manager. "I'll cover the cost." The manager froze. "Sir." "No deductions," Julian added firmly. Maria looked at him with surprise, confusion, and something softer than yesterday. He gently handed her a business card. "If you ever need anything," he said, "a letter of recommendation, tuition assistance for your brother, or just someone to stand up for you, call me." She stared at the card but didn't take it. "Why are you doing this?" she whispered. "Because," he said, "you made me see what kind of man I've become, and I don't want to be him anymore." Days passed. Maria did not call him. Julian didn't give up. He visited again, not as a billionaire, but as a student of humility. He began helping the restaurant staff carry trays, clean tables, even mop the floor. He donated without announcing it. He smiled more. He listened more. The staff slowly warmed to him. Maria watched from a distance, uncertain. Her biggest challenge was trust. His was transformation. Their paths kept crossing until one evening. After the restaurant closed, she found him sweeping the floor. "You're not very good at that," she said playfully. He grinned sheepishly. "I noticed." She laughed softly. And that was the first time he heard her laugh. He cherished it. As days turned to weeks, Julian discovered her dreams, her struggles, her hopes. He learned she spoke 4 languages, studied from borrowed textbooks, and dreamed of becoming a translator. But she couldn't afford college. He wanted to help, but gently, not from pity but from respect. "Let me sponsor your education," he said one evening. "No," she answered firmly. "I won't let anyone buy my life." He admired her even more. "Then let me invest in your dreams," he said softly. "Not as a billionaire, but as someone who believes in you." Finally, after a long silence, she nodded. Not yes, not no, but hope. Over time, Maria graduated with honors. She became a professional translator, earning enough to support her brother and herself with dignity. Julian changed too. He started a foundation to provide education for underprivileged teens. He stepped away from toxic practices at his company and began rebuilding relationships he had long neglected. One evening, at a charity event he organized, he saw Maria standing across the room, confident, radiant, accomplished. He walked to her. "You changed my life," he whispered. She smiled softly. "No, you changed your own life. I just spoke the truth." He reached for her hand. "And your truth," he said, "saved me." She squeezed his fingers. "And your humility," she replied, "gave me a future." The room faded around them. There was only their journey, two lives transformed by a single moment of honesty. A waitress with dignity. A billionaire rediscovering his humanity. Two people from different worlds, brought together by a sentence spoken in Spanish. And the courage to grow. Strong, inspiring message for ending. No matter who you are or where you stand in life, kindness and respect cost nothing, but they can change everything. Sometimes one moment, one voice, one act of honesty can transform a life forever. Be humble, be kind, and never underestimate someone based on where they work, how they dress, or what you assume they know. Everyone carries a story. Everyone deserves dignity. And sometimes the person you underestimate is the one who teaches you what humanity truly means.